The morning started like any other at the Quantum Research Center in Seoul. Dr. Han Jae-ho walked through the underground halls, holding his coffee cup carefully. He was tired after working late the night before, but something about today felt different. The research center was quiet at 6 a.m. Only the soft hum of machines filled the air. Jae-ho liked coming in early before others arrived. It gave him time to think. As he passed the main scanner room, a red light caught his eye. The scanner was running, which was strange because no one had scheduled any tests for today. Jae-ho put down his coffee and walked closer to check. The numbers on the screen made no sense. The energy readings were higher than anything he had ever seen. At first, he thought the machine was broken, but all the system checks came back normal. Dr. Kim, you need to see this. Jae-ho called his boss on the emergency line. Dr. Kim Da-hai arrived 15 minutes later, still putting on her lab coat. This better be important, Jae-ho. I was about to have breakfast with my family, she said, but her annoyed look changed to surprise when she saw the readings. How long has it been like this? She asked, typing quickly on the keyboard. I found it when I came in. The strange thing is, these energy patterns, they look almost alive, Jae-ho said, pointing at the wave patterns on the screen. Dr. Kim nodded slowly. We need to find the source. Get the scanning team ready. They followed the energy signal to a sealed room deep in the facility's lower levels. The door was old and covered in dust. No one had opened it in years. According to the old files, this room was sealed after a failed experiment in 2019, Dr. Kim said, checking her tablet. But these readings suggest something in there is very much active. It took them 3 hours to safely open the door. What they found inside made them both freeze. In the center of the room, floating a few inches above a metal stand, was what looked like a suit of armor. But it wasn't like any armor they had seen before. It was dark gray with lines of soft blue light moving across its surface like flowing water. The armor seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting slightly every few seconds. Impossible, Dr. Kim whispered. The metal. It's responding to air temperature changes. Normal metal doesn't do that. Jae-ho stepped closer, fascinated. The armor's surface rippled as he approached. He reached out to touch it. Jae-ho, wait, Dr. Kim shouted, but it was too late. A burst of energy threw Jae-ho across the room. He hit the wall hard but wasn't seriously hurt. The armor's blue lines had turned red. Over the next week, they'd brought in more researchers to study the armor. They discovered it was older than human civilization. The metal it was made from didn't match any known element on Earth. 3 researchers died trying to examine it more closely. Each time someone tried to touch or scan the armor directly, it responded with violent force. The government wanted to destroy it, but Dr. Kim fought to keep studying it. This could be the greatest discovery in human history, she argued in meetings. We just need to understand why it's rejecting us. What they didn't know was that the armor was waiting. It had been waiting for thousands of years, through the rise and fall of civilizations. It wasn't rejecting everyone, it was selecting. And soon, it would find exactly who it was looking for. 1 floor above the armor's room, a young maintenance worker named Park Sun-woo was mopping the floors, completely unaware that his life was about to change forever. The armor's blue lines pulsed slightly stronger as he passed overhead, but no one was watching the monitors at that moment to notice. The universe's most dangerous weapon had finally found its new host. All it needed now was a chance to reach him. Park Sun-woo checked his cleaning schedule for the 3rd time that morning. The paper showed a new area he had never cleaned before. Sub-Level 3, Section B. He didn't like changes to his routine, but a job was a job. At 26 years old, Sun-woo had worked as a maintenance worker at the research center for 5 years. He wasn't a scientist like the others, but he took pride in keeping the facility clean and organized. His supervisor always said he was the most reliable worker on the team. The elevator ride to Sub-Level 3 felt longer than usual. When the doors opened, Sun-woo noticed how quiet it was. The only sounds were the soft hum of machines and his footsteps echoing in the empty hallway. As he pushed his cleaning cart past various rooms, he saw a group of scientists rushing out of one of the labs. They looked worried and didn't even notice him. Sun Wu waited until they were gone before entering the room to clean it. "Hello," he called out, making sure no one was inside. The room was different from others he had cleaned. Strange machines lined the walls, and in the center was a sealed door with warning signs all over it. Sun Wu started mopping the floor, working his way around the room. When he reached the center, something strange happened. The sealed door clicked and slowly opened by itself. He knew he should call security, but something made him pause. A soft blue light came from inside the room, and he felt drawn to it. It wasn't like the harsh lights in the labs. This light seemed almost alive. Inside the room, floating above a stand, was the most beautiful thing Sun Wu had ever seen. It looked like a suit of armor, but it moved like water, with lines of light flowing across its surface. "I really shouldn't be here," he said to himself, but his feet carried him forward anyway. The armor's light grew brighter as he got closer, changing from blue to a warm golden color. Suddenly, alarms started blaring. Sun Wu heard shouting in the hallway, but before he could move, the armor did something impossible. It broke apart into flowing streams of liquid metal and wrapped around him. Dr. Kim Dae-hee ran into the room with security guards behind her. She expected to find another dead body. Instead, she saw something that made her stop in her tracks. The armor had completely covered Sun Wu, but unlike the previous attempts, there was no violence. The metal moved smoothly, adjusting to fit him perfectly. The lights on its surface pulsed in sync with his heartbeat. "It's not rejecting him," Dr. Kim said in amazement. "It's accepting him." Sun Wu stood very still, afraid to move. The armor felt warm against his skin, like a comfortable blanket. In his mind, he heard a voice he had never heard before. "Host compatibility confirmed," the voice said. "Integration process beginning. Welcome, Park Sun Wu." "The armor. It's talking to me," Sun Wu said, his voice shaking a little. Dr. Kim approached carefully, her scanner showing readings that seemed impossible. "Can you tell us what it's saying?" "It says its name is Echo, and it's been waiting for a very long time to find the right person," Sun Wu replied. He looked at his hands, now covered in the flowing metal. "But why me? I'm just a cleaner." "Perhaps," Dr. Kim said thoughtfully. "That's exactly why it chose you. You've been here every day, working quietly, showing dedication to even the simplest tasks. The armor didn't want a scientist or a soldier. It wanted someone with a different kind of strength." As she spoke, the armor's surface rippled, as if agreeing with her words. Sun Wu felt something change inside him, like waking up from a long sleep. He wasn't just a cleaner anymore. He had been chosen for something much bigger than himself. In the distance, unknown to everyone in the room, powerful beings across the galaxy suddenly turned their attention toward Earth. The Sentinel had awakened, and nothing would ever be the same again. The first week after the armor chose Sun Wu was difficult. The research center moved him to a special room where doctors could watch him day and night. Dr. Kim stayed with him most of the time, taking notes as he learned to talk with Echo, the armor's eye. "It's like having another person in my head," Sun Wu explained to Dr. Kim one morning. "Echo doesn't just talk. It shares memories and feelings too." The armor had become a part of him now. Even when it wasn't visible on the outside, Sun Wu could feel it under his skin, like a gentle warmth flowing through his body. Echo taught him about its past, showing him visions of things no human had ever seen. The architects created 12 special pieces of technology, Sun Wu said, repeating what Echo showed him. The Sentinel, that's what they called this armor, was the most powerful of them all. Dr. Kim leaned forward in her chair. "Can Echo show you what happened to the architects?" Sun Wu closed his eyes. The armor's surface rippled, and golden lines of light moved across it. They disappeared long ago. Echo doesn't know why. But before they left, they spread their technology across the galaxy, hoping the right species would find it. As days passed, Sunwoo learned more about the armor's abilities. He could make it appear and disappear at will now. The metal responded to his thoughts, flowing like water to protect him or help him move in new ways. But one memory troubled Echo, and it finally shared it with Sunwoo. The vision was clear: a solar system burning, planets cracking apart, billions of lives lost in moments. The armor's last host had lost control, and the destruction was enormous. That's why Echo was so careful in choosing a new host. Sunwoo told Dr. Kim it didn't want to make the same mistake again. "But why you?" Dr. Kim asked. "What makes you different?" Before Sunwoo could answer, Echo spoke in his mind. "Show her," it said. Sunwoo stood up and let the armor cover him completely. This time was different. The metal became clear like glass, showing the connection between him and Echo. Lines of light moved between them, forming patterns that the scientists' machines could finally read. "Amazing," Dr. Kim said, checking the readings. "Your brainwaves and the armor's energy patterns, they're in perfect harmony. You're not fighting for control like the previous host did. You're working together." "Echo says humans are special," Sunwoo explained. "Our brains are different from other species. We can adapt to new things without trying to control them completely. We learn to work with them instead." Suddenly, all the lights in the facility went dark. Emergency alarms started ringing. On every computer screen, the same message appeared: "ATNTI on Earth. Surrender. The CNTINEL or FAC immediate destruction." Sunwoo felt Echo's concern mixing with his own fear, but there was something else too, a feeling of readiness. The armor had chosen him for a reason, and now it was time to prove why. "Dr. Kim," Sunwoo said, his voice steady as the armor formed around him, "I need to tell you everything Echo knows about the collective. They're coming, and we don't have much time." The armor's surface changed from gold to a deep blue, ready for what was coming. In Sunwoo's mind, Echo's voice was clear and confident. "Together, we are stronger than they know. Show them what humanity can do." The collective's first attack came at midnight. 3 ships entered Earth's atmosphere, their dark shapes blocking out the stars. They moved silently toward the research center, but Sunwoo was ready. Echo had warned him they were coming. "The one leading them is dangerous," Echo said in Sunwoo's mind. "He is like you, but different, a human changed by the collective." On the main ship, Lee Hyun-ki stood at the command center. He looked human, but his eyes glowed with a faint purple light. The collective had changed him years ago, making him stronger and faster. They had sent him because he understood how humans think. "Remember," Hyun-ki told his soldiers, "we need the armor intact. The host can be replaced." Sunwoo waited on the roof of the research center. The armor covered him completely, its surface now a deep blue that seemed to absorb light. Dr. Kim and the other scientists had evacuated, but he wasn't alone. His younger sister, Mi-rae, had refused to leave. "I'm staying," she had said firmly. "You've always protected me. Now it's my turn to help you." The first ship landed, and soldiers in black armor poured out. Their weapons looked more advanced than anything on Earth. Sunwoo felt Echo's knowledge flow into his mind, teaching him about each weapon and how to fight them. "Your sister," Echo warned. "They're trying to reach her." Sunwoo moved faster than he thought possible. The armor enhanced every movement, letting him jump between buildings and dodge energy blasts. He reached Mi-rae just as 3 soldiers surrounded her. "You really shouldn't have come after my sister," Sunwoo said. The armor responded to his anger, forming a shield that deflected their attacks. In seconds, all 3 soldiers were unconscious. Hyun-ki watched from his ship, his expression changing from confidence to concern. The armor was working differently than any previous records showed. It moved like water, adapting instantly to every situation. And the The host was using abilities that should have taken years to master. Interesting, Hyun-Ki said. The collective said humans were too primitive to use the armor properly, but look at how perfectly they work together. Sun Wu fought his way through more soldiers, always careful not to cause serious harm. Echo approved of his restraint, its power responding more strongly to his careful control. Together, they were proving something important. Humanity's strength wasn't in destruction, but in protection. You're making a mistake. Hyun-Ki's voice boomed across the battlefield. He finally stepped out of his ship, his enhanced body glowing with purple energy. That armor destroyed a solar system. It can't be trusted with a primitive species. You're wrong, Sun Wu replied. Echo showed me the truth. The armor didn't destroy that system. It sacrificed it to save countless others. And now you're hiding that truth to keep control. Mai watched her brother face the enhanced human. She had always known Sun Wu was special, not because he was powerful, but because he cared so deeply about protecting others. Now the most dangerous weapon in the universe had chosen him for exactly that reason. The night sky lit up as Sun Wu and Hyun-Ki clashed. The collective's hunter was stronger, but Sun Wu and Echo moved as one, turning each attack against itself. They weren't fighting for power or control. They were fighting to protect. And that made all the difference. The collective didn't wait long after Hyun-Ki's failed mission. 3 days later, their main fleet arrived. Hundreds of ships filled the sky above Seoul, their dark shapes blocking out the morning sun. Sun Wu stood on top of the highest building in the city, watching the ships with Echo. The armor felt different now, more in tune with his emotions. It wasn't just a weapon anymore. It had become part of who he was. They're afraid, Echo told him. They've never seen us work together like this. They don't understand how it's possible. Dr. Kim's voice came through the communication device in his ear. Sun Wu, our satellites show more ships coming. The whole Korean peninsula is their target. I know, Sun Wu replied. He looked down at the streets below, where people were running for shelter. Among them, he saw his sister Mireille helping elderly neighbors reach safety. But we're not going to let them hurt anyone. The first attack came without warning. Energy beams from the ships cut through buildings like paper. But wherever the beams struck, Sun Wu was there. The armor moved faster than ever, creating shields that protected entire city blocks. Impossible, the collective's commander said, watching from the main ship. No host has ever used the armor's defensive abilities at this scale. Sun Wu didn't just defend. Every time he protected someone, the armor grew stronger. Echo showed him how to use this energy, turning the collective's own attacks back against their ships. But he was careful, aiming only at their weapons, never at the crews. Why do you protect them? Hyun-Ki's voice came through on all frequencies. He had recovered from their last fight, and now led the fleet. They're holding our species back. With the collective's help, we could be so much more. Sun Wu saved a group of school children from a falling building before answering. We're not meant to be more. We're meant to be ourselves. That's what Echo showed me. The armor doesn't make us stronger by changing us. It makes us stronger by helping us be who we truly are. As he spoke, something amazing happened. The armor's energy began to spread, creating a network of golden light across the city. People touched by this light found themselves able to help others in extraordinary ways. They didn't get powers like Sun Wu's, but they became stronger, faster, more able to protect those around them. This is what the armor was made for, Echo explained. Not to destroy, but to bring out the best in people. The architects knew that someday a species would understand this. Dr. Kim watched from the research center as her instruments detected the changes. The armor isn't just adapting to Sun Wu anymore, she said to her team. It's adapting to all of humanity. We're all becoming part of its network. The collected ships began to retreat. They had expected to find a primitive species misusing powerful technology. Instead, they found something they had never seen before, a perfect partnership between human and machine, between protection and power. Sunwoo landed next to his sister, the armor glowing softly. Mirai smiled at him. You know they'll be back, right? Yes, Sunwoo said. But next time, we'll be ready. Because now we know something they don't. Humanity's greatest power isn't in fighting. It's in protecting what matters most. Above them, the golden network of light continued to grow, spreading hope and strength across the city. The first real battle between Earth and the Collective was over. But the true test was just beginning. 1 month after the Battle of Seoul, Sunwoo sat in Dr. Kim's laboratory, watching old recordings that Echo had stored in its memory. The images showed a different galaxy, one from thousands of years ago. Dr. Kim took careful notes as Echo revealed the truth about its past. The solar system wasn't destroyed because of a mistake, Sunwoo said, his voice steady as Echo shared its memories. It was sacrificed to stop something worse. The recording showed a terrible plague that turned living beings into crystal. It had spread across 3 star systems when Echo and its previous host found it. The plague wasn't natural. It was a weapon created by a species that wanted to reshape the galaxy in their image. The Collective didn't tell you everything. Echo spoke through Sunwoo. They were the ones who made the plague. My previous host gave his life to stop it, burning an entire solar system to prevent it from spreading further. Dr. Kim stopped writing. So the Collective rewrote history. They made everyone believe the armor was dangerous to keep others from using it. Yes, Sunwoo replied. But that's not all Echo found. Look at this. The armor projected a new image, showing brain scans of different species. Among all of them, human brains looked different. They had special patterns that matched perfectly with the Architect's technology. The Architects didn't disappear, Echo explained through Sunwoo. They were watching, waiting for a species that could truly understand their gifts. They found that species in humans. In another part of the research center, Mirai made an important discovery. While helping to sort through old files, she found documents about other strange objects found on Earth. They weren't just random artifacts. They were more pieces of the Architect's technology. Sunwoo, she called, running into the lab. You need to see this. They've been finding these things for years, but no one could make them work. Dr. Kim studied the files. These patterns, they're the same as the ones we see in the armor. But why are they showing up now? Echo answered through Sunwoo. Because humans are ready. The armor's activation was just the beginning. There are 11 more gifts from the Architects, waiting to be found. Suddenly, they heard footsteps in the hallway. Lee Hyun-ki walked into the lab, but something was different. His purple eyes were now normal, and he wasn't wearing his Collective uniform. I want to help, he said, holding up his hands to show he wasn't armed. After seeing what happened in Seoul, I started asking questions. The Collective, they've been lying to all of us. Sunwoo felt Echo's reaction. Not fear or anger, but understanding. The armor had seen this before. People choosing truth over power, choosing to protect rather than control. The Collective thinks humans are primitive because we feel too much, care too much, Hyun-ki continued. But that's exactly why the Architects chose this planet. You proved it in Seoul. The armor doesn't just need a pilot. It needs someone who understands the difference between power and responsibility. Dr. Kim looked at her readings again, understanding growing in her eyes. It's not just about being compatible with the technology. It's about being compatible with its purpose. Humans don't just use these gifts. We understand why they were created in the first place. Outside the lab, the golden network that had started in Seoul was still growing, connecting more people every day. The truth was spreading, and with it, humanity's true potential was beginning to awaken. 2 months after the truth about the Collective was revealed, more of the Architect's artifacts began to respond to humans. In a small high school in Busan, Oh Yun-seo, a science teacher, touched an ancient crystal that had been sitting in a museum for decades. The crystal lit up for the first time in thousands of years. The crystal was a communication array, one of the 12 great technologies left by the architects. Through it, Yun Seo could connect with minds across vast distances, sharing thoughts and memories instantly. She joined Sunwoo and Echo in their mission to protect Earth. "The crystal shows me everything," Yun Seo told Dr. Kim during their first meeting. "The collective has been keeping other species away from Earth. They knew we were different. They were afraid of what would happen when we found the artifacts." Sunwoo watched as Yun Seo used the crystal to create a network of communication across the planet. The golden light from his armor worked with her crystal, making the connection stronger. More artifacts were awakening every day, each choosing its perfect human partner. "It's happening faster than the collective expected," Hyun-ki said, "now working with them instead of against them. They thought they would have more time to stop us. They never imagined humans would understand the technology so quickly." The collective launched their final attack with everything they had. 1,000 ships appeared in Earth's sky, carrying weapons that could destroy entire continents. But this time, Earth was ready. Sunwoo stood at the front of Earth's defense, the armor glowing brighter than ever. Behind him, Yun Seo used the crystal to coordinate their response. All around the world, humans connected to other artifacts joined together, each using their new abilities not for power, but for protection. "Look at them," Echo said in Sunwoo's mind as they faced the collective's fleet. "Every human who bonded with an artifact chose to protect rather than destroy. The architects were right about your species." The battle that followed was unlike anything in human history. The collective's ships fired their weapons, but Earth's defenders worked together perfectly. Sunwoo and Echo created shields, while others used their artifacts to turn the attacks aside or absorb their energy. Mireille worked with Yun Seo, helping to keep everyone connected. Through the crystal network, she could feel her brother's determination, Echo's pride, and the strength of every human who had joined their cause. "You still don't understand." Sunwoo's voice reached every ship in the collective's fleet. "These artifacts weren't meant to make us powerful. They were meant to show us who we already are." The collective's weapons fell silent as their leaders watched in amazement. Humans weren't just using the artifacts. They were improving them, working with them in ways the architects themselves hadn't imagined. Dr. Kim's readings showed something extraordinary. The artifacts were evolving, adapting to human creativity and emotion. Each connection made both the human and the technology stronger, creating something entirely new. "This is why the architects chose Earth," Echo explained to everyone through the crystal network. "Not because humans were perfect, but because they understood something no other species had learned. True strength comes from working together, from protecting each other, from choosing to use power to help rather than harm." The revolution wasn't won with weapons or destruction. It was won with understanding, cooperation, and the uniquely human ability to turn ancient tools of war into instruments of peace. The collective's fleet hung motionless in Earth's orbit. Their weapons were powered down, and their leaders had requested to speak with humanity's representatives. 6 months had passed since the armor first chose Sunwoo, and everything had changed. In a large conference room in Seoul, Sunwoo sat at a round table with representatives from both Earth and the collective. The armor flowed like liquid silver across his shoulders, its light soft and steady. Next to him, Yun Seo held the communication crystal, making sure everyone could understand each other perfectly. "We were wrong about humans," the collective's high commander admitted. "We thought power had to be controlled, limited, kept away from developing species. But you showed us another way." Dr. Kim presented her research to the gathered leaders. Her screen showed how the architect's technology had evolved since bonding with humans. The artifacts weren't just tools anymore. They had become partners in humanity's growth. "The armor was never meant to be the most dangerous weapon," Sunwoo explained, feeling Echo's warmth as he spoke. "It was meant to find the species that could turn weapons into shields, that could use power to protect instead of destroy." Mireille, now working with Dr. Kim as a researcher, shared the data they had collected. All across Earth, the artifacts had chosen hosts like Sunwoo, People who wanted to help others, who understood that strength meant taking care of those who needed protection. The architects didn't disappear. Echo spoke through Sunwoo. They became part of their technology, waiting for a species that would understand their real mission. Humanity didn't just pass their test. They exceeded all expectations. Hyun-ki, standing with the Earth delegation, stepped forward. The collective enhanced me, tried to make me stronger by taking away what they saw as human weakness. But now I understand. Our emotions, our desire to protect, our ability to work together, these aren't weaknesses. They're the source of our true strength. The peace treaty that followed was unlike any in galactic history. Earth would join the galactic community, but not as a junior member. Humans would help guide the use of the architect's technology, teaching other species what they had learned about partnership and protection. There will be more challenges, Yun Seo said through the crystal network, reaching minds across the galaxy. But we'll face them together, not just as humans, but as partners with both the artifacts and other species. Sunwoo looked at the armor, now as much a part of him as his own heart. Echo, do you regret choosing me? A simple maintenance worker. Never, Echo replied warmly. You proved why humans were the perfect choice. You didn't see me as a weapon to control or a power to master. You saw me as a partner, someone to work with, to grow with. That's what the architects were waiting for. Dr. Kim finished recording the last of her notes about humanity's journey with the artifacts. Her final entry read, "The universe's most dangerous armor chose a human host not because we were the strongest or the most advanced, but because we understood something vital. The greatest power isn't in destruction, but in protection. In choosing to use power for others rather than over others, humanity found its true place among the stars." Outside the conference room, the golden network of light that had started with Sunwoo and Echo continued to grow, connecting minds and hearts across the galaxy. The dawn of a new age had begun, guided by the simple truth that had made humans the perfect partners for the most powerful technology in the universe. True strength lies not in the power you have, but in how you choose to use it.